It was a quiet morning in the Mississippi Valley, the air heavy with mist, the horizon glowing faintly gold. If you stood there today, you would see endless cornfields stretching to the edge of the sky. But beneath those calm farmlands, under layers of soil and silence, lie the remains of one of North America's greatest mysteries, a lost civilization that once rivaled ancient cities like London and Paris in size. This is the forgotten story of Cahokia, the largest city you've never heard of, the city of Mounds. Long before the first Europeans set foot on American soil, a vast city stood near the banks of the Mississippi River, near present-day St. Louis, Missouri. Historians call it Cahokia, named after a later native tribe that settled in the region. But the true name of its builders? We don't know. Their language, their myths, their songs, all vanished long before anyone could write them down. Between 1050 and 1200 AD, Cahokia rose from the river plains like a mirage. It wasn't a small village, it was a metropolis, home to 20,000 or more people at its peak. To put that in perspective, London around that time had about the same population. Cahokia's people built massive earthen mounds, hundreds of them, shaped with precision and aligned to the sun and stars. The largest of these, Monk's Mound, still stands today, a 100-foot-high pyramid of soil, larger at its base than the Great Pyramid of Giza. Imagine it. Workers carrying baskets of earth by hand, millions of loads, shaping the landscape into ceremonial platforms, burial grounds, and cosmic observatories. From the top of Monk's Mound, a ruler once gazed over an empire, a civilization hidden in plain sight. When you picture ancient civilizations, you might think of Egypt, Greece, or Rome. But here, in the heartland of America, between the rivers and forests, a city just as sophisticated once thrived. Cahokia had urban planning, wide plazas, neighborhoods, and even wooden palisades that surrounded the central ceremonial area. Archaeologists discovered evidence of trade routes stretching from the Great Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico. They traded copper, shell beads, mica, and obsidian, materials carried hundreds of miles by river or on foot. Cahokia was not isolated. It was the capital of a continent-wide network, the beating heart of what archaeologists call Mississippian culture. And at its core stood something mysterious. Woodhenge, a circular arrangement of giant red cedar posts used as a solar calendar. Every solstice, the sun would rise exactly between the posts, marking time, seasons, and perhaps the ceremonies of life and death. The ruler and the gods. At the top of Monk's Mound, archaeologists believe a great wooden temple once stood, painted in red, white, and yellow clay. Inside, a chief or priest king may have lived, a man believed to be the living connection between the heavens and the earth. This leader ruled not just by power, but by divine authority. To the people of Cahokia, the cosmos was alive. The sun, moon, and stars were gods that needed ceremony and sacrifice to keep the world in balance. In 1967, during excavations at a nearby mound called Mound 72, archaeologists made a shocking discovery. Beneath layers of earth lay a burial unlike anything seen before in North America. At the center was a man, likely a high-ranking leader, laid upon a bed of over 20,000 shell beads, arranged in the shape of a falcon. Around him were the remains of more than 50 young women, sacrificed in what appears to be a mass ritual. Their deaths were not random. They were part of something ceremonial, a farewell to a god-king, a promise to the afterlife, or perhaps something darker. It was both beautiful and horrifying, a glimpse into a culture both advanced and brutal. The rise and fall Cahokia's golden age lasted about 250 years. At its peak, around 1150 AD, it was the largest city north of Mexico. But then, slowly, mysteriously, it began to die. By the 1300s, the city was abandoned. The mounds stood empty, the plazas silent, the people gone. Why? Historians still debate. Some believe climate change, a series of droughts, made farming impossible. Others point to deforestation and soil exhaustion as trees were cut to build walls, fuel fires, and clear land. Still others think warfare or disease broke the society apart. But there's another, more haunting theory, that Cahokia fell not by sword or drought, but by belief. The people may have lost faith in their leaders and their gods when the rituals stopped working, when the sun no longer rose as expected, or when the floods came despite prayers. When faith collapses, so does civilization, the silence beneath the soil. For centuries, Cahokia was forgotten. When European settlers arrived, they found the giant mounds but assumed they were natural hills or built by some lost race that vanished before Native Americans arrived. No one believed that indigenous people could have built something so vast. It wasn't until the late 1800s that archaeologists began to study the mounds seriously, and even then, Cahokia was dismissed as a curiosity, not a city. Farmers plowed through sacred earthworks, roads and houses were built across ancient plazas. Only in the late 20th century did scientists begin to realize the truth, that beneath the farmlands of Illinois lies the footprint of America's first true city. Echoes of the ancients. Today you can still walk through Cahokia Mounds State Historic Site. The air feels different there, still heavy and strangely alive. You can climb to the top of Monk's Mound and see the St. Louis skyline in the distance, the modern world staring back at an ancient one. Each sunrise still aligns perfectly with the posts of the reconstructed Woodhenge, just as it did 1,000 years ago. It's as if time itself bends, whispering through the wind. We were here once. Cahokia's story is not just about what was built. It's about what was lost. A city that rose from the earth, mastered nature, and then returned quietly back into it. No grand ruins remain, no temples of stone. Only mounds of earth, shaped by human hands and buried by time. But in those mounds lies a reminder. Civilizations don't need to leave marble monuments to prove they were great. Sometimes their greatness is measured in silence, the forgotten lesson. In many ways, the mystery of Cahokia mirrors our modern world. We too build vast cities, alter landscapes, and believe our empires will last forever. But perhaps the people of Cahokia once thought the same. And one day, when our towers crumble and the rivers change their course, maybe someone will walk above our ruins just as we now walk above theirs and wonder who we were and what dreams we buried beneath the soil.